You have a podcast. I'd love to come on and talk about this. It's a really easy pitch if you start with really warm people. I literally just Google searched looking for podcast guests and pulled up this Reddit thread. Here's a Facebook group looking for guests for my live podcast. People need guests so bad that they publicly post for them. So this isn't a service they're doing for you. This is a service you're doing for them. So this is the basic steps. List out keywords, literally pull out a piece of paper and list out words or phrases surrounding the problem that you solve. Then make a list of common things that cause that problem. And then third category, problems that result from having your problem. So if like you're a marriage counselor, the problem you solve is having a bad marriage. Things that cause it, job stress, married the wrong person. Things that would result from the problem existing might be extremely high stress, might be kids that are super jacked up. So basically at the end of this, you have a piece of paper with like 30 or 40 things written on it. And it's just like a total mayhem on the piece of paper, but you get a bunch of keywords and phrases written down. Second thing, pull out your phone, or actually I prefer this little website called Podchaser, and I'd start typing all the keywords and phrases in one at a time. Then add everyone you find that seems like sort of relevant to you to a Google Sheet. Make your list of people. Plan for 10 to 15% of the reviewers of the podcast to opt in. This is actually something I learned from a client. I was interviewing him like a year ago, and I was like, how do you know how many people opt in? Because it seems kind of black magic to me. It's like, oh, it's easy. You just go to iTunes and see how many people have reviewed the podcast. If there's 100, you could plan to generate about 25 leads from that. And sometimes with smaller review numbers, you can get like closer to 50. If you have 1,000 reviews, you could generate 250 leads from it. Number two, don't go really big, especially at first. You can get there later. Like if you're in finance space or something like, or finance type of categories popped up on your list, don't put on your list Dave Ramsey and Tony Robbins as number 1 and 2. Like get to them in year 3 and 4 of doing this. You're not going to start there. If you've never been interviewed in your life, Dave's not about to interview you tomorrow. And also don't confine yourself to just hyper niche. One of our case studies we share a lot is Nick True. He's a finance coach. He works with entrepreneurs. He wouldn't want to just go on finance-based podcasts. He could go on business growth podcasts. He could go on business leadership and hiring podcasts. There's all kind of categories he could go into where his people are hanging out, just learning different things. And now they're going to learn about his thing. Pro tip number 3, web out from interview podcasts. So this is the first one I did this on. I went on the Mixergy podcast years ago, and Andrew has interviewed 2,000 other people. So I just went to his episode list and scrolled through it and made a list of like 50 people that I would love to be on their platform, whether it's a blog or podcast or interview or whatever. But in this context, let's think of podcasts. Of Andrew's 2,000 interviews, hundreds of them have podcasts of their own. So the email reach out to them is really warm. It's like I literally put in the subject line, Mixergy, loved your Mixergy interview. And in the email, I might say even, hey, I went on Mixergy, you went on Mixergy, you have a podcast, I'd love to come on and talk about this. It's a really easy pitch if you start with really warm people.